Good morning, and it is a wonderful day. Thank you for checking out this video. We're going to talk about something today, give you a little background into who I am and why I even became an instructor. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I started my own program here. I got my own logo, I started my own name, my own brand, and I mean, it's rightfully so when you know, it's time to move forward, you know. And so right now I'm on my way to go train, and we're gonna go train for about an hour. You know, training is a lifestyle because this is how we get better, this is how we grow, this is how we improve. And I'm doing something a little different now. I'm using the martial arts to fuse personal growth. I'm using the martial arts to fuse being a better person all the way around. And why? Because it's happened for my life. Let me give you a little background real fast. I came up with a really good mom, really good aunt, no dad, no father. I had a younger brother, and we lived in Brooklyn, New York, and it was tough, but not really. I mean, my life was amazing. My mom was amazing, is amazing. My aunt is amazing. They gave me a great life. Even living in Brooklyn, it was amazing. It really was. It was a really good life. I mean, my Christmases were unbelievable. You know, I mean, I'm serious. Like, it was an amazing time. And I came up under a good family. My mother wanted to make our life better for us, and we moved us out to New Jersey. And all my life, even when I was younger, I liked to fight. I was always a little scrappy kid. But I also liked the martial arts. And when I was younger, I did martial arts. And when I moved out to New Jersey, I started all over again in martial arts at the age of 13. And then life happened. And the teenage years started kicking in at 14, and all the stuff from the side, left to right, everything started to play in. I ended up quitting Taekwondo, and I took 10 years of my life and ventured off. And for my teenage years, it was really trying. I mean, I had every reason to be an amazing young man as far as school, and my future was, at that time, was extremely bright. I mean, it's still bright now, but even then it was really bright. But being a teenager kicked in, and I got into a little bit of trouble and made some bad choices, and, you know, did a couple of different things that really, you know, made my life a little bit more of a challenge. By the age of 18, I graduated high school, which was, you know, awesome. It took a lot for me to graduate high school. I worked 12 hours a day just to graduate high school, and you can ask my mother today. I mean, I did a lot of work. You know, I was at school at 6:30 in the morning. I didn't get done with all my responsibilities to 8:30 at night, and it was a great lesson in life. It was a great lesson in life that of the work ethic you got to have in order to be successful. Didn't see it then, but I just knew it was something I had to do if I wanted to graduate. So I graduated high school, and I ended up started selling perfume and cologne, door to door, business to business, and I got really good at it. I got really good. I mean, I was running meetings, I was running motivational talks, I was selling perfume and cologne left and right. I was one of the superstars, one of the top guys. I got my own office, and picked a couple of partners, and we ran a business. And eventually that business ended up, you know, falling apart. I'm like, I can't take all the blame on this one. You have partners, people make choices, and, you know, you kind of got to suffer the consequences of those choices. So I was lost, and I needed to find a way back. I needed to find a way back to what I love to do. I needed to find myself because I was lost. I ended up, you know, losing the businesses due to bad partnerships, and I had no income. I was flat on my butt again, and you know, it was super challenging. I ended up working overnight at ShopRite. I ended up working overnight at QuickCheck, and I hated my life. I mean, it was bad. It was, you know, I was so young, and I made a lot of these things that happened. I ended up hating my life. I just ended up being totally depressed. It's not how I saw my life going, and you know, and now I've learned it's not what happens to you, it's how you react to it, right? It's not what happens to us, it's how we react to what happens to us that makes all the difference in the world. And I guess my reactions were just bad at the time because I was young and I didn't get it. And so I ended up working overnight at ShopRite and QuickCheck, and And I was miserable, and at this time I already had 4 children. At this time, again, like I said, being a teenager, and I was a little lost, and life took me a certain way. But I was a father of 4. I still took care of my responsibilities. I went through a lot of trials with it, and dealing with everything I had to deal with. And then I finally just said, you know what, I'm tired of working overnight, man, and I'm tired of these dead end jobs going nowhere. So I talked to a good friend of mine, and we talked for about 4 hours. And I grew up with this kid and with this guy, and we talked for 4 hours. Everything, life, business, girls, everything, relationships. And he says to me, he says, Eric, what do you love to do? And I was like, listen, man, I've always wanted to run my own business. And, that's always what I wanted to do. But he said, yeah, but at what? And I was like, I don't know. He's like, well, that's your problem. He's like, you don't know what you want to do. He's like, you want to run your own business, but at what? And he said, what do you love to do? So I went and did some soul searching, and I found what I love to do, and I love to do martial arts. Now, I'm a struggling single father at home. I'm 24 years old, and I want to get back into martial arts. And martial arts training was $130 a month. And it was expensive for me to maintain dealing with, my kids and working overnight, not making a lot of money overnight. It was super expensive for me. And then I signed up, I started paying it, and I couldn't maintain the bills, and I had to quit. I ended up being real depressed about that, and I talked to my same friend, and he's like, Eric, why don't you just ask him if you can barter a service? And I was like, what are you talking about? And see, all the while, this guy's helping me kind of solve my problem from the outside looking in, when I could have solved my problem myself from the inside in, but I didn't know how to go inside to solve my problem. So regardless, he said, barter with the guy. He's like, I know the guy's story. He's like, see if you can clean the school, and he'll let you train. So I went to my master, and I asked him if it was okay for me to clean the school so I can train. And he says to me, yes, it is. I was blown away. I was like, oh my God, he was serious. He would let me do it. And he told me to come. It was a Friday when I asked him. He told me to be at his school Monday afternoon about 3:30. I showed up early, about 3 o'clock. He didn't show up till 3:30. I was there waiting. He showed me what I needed to do, and I never left. For 10 years, I cleaned the school. For 10 years, I trained every day. To get my black belt, I trained with the kids, all the kids classes, and the adult classes to get my black belt. I cleaned the school before classes, and I cleaned the school after classes. Again, a lesson in life and what it was going to take for me to get to where I had to go. Another lesson in life. Now, mind you, when I was selling perfume and cologne, that was a crazy lesson in life of how hard the hustle was. I was just young, having a good time. I didn't really think about the hustle. I was just young. I was energetic at that time. I'm still energetic now, and I was just having a good time. Anyway, I ended up cleaning the school, and I ended up training as hard as I had to train, and he was willing to really take me under his wing, and he showed me the ropes on how to be a martial arts instructor. He showed me the ropes how to train. He showed me the ropes on how to be a competitor. He gave me my start. He introduced me into a lot of different people. It's hard to see me right now. He introduced me to a lot of different people. He gave me the tools I needed to be successful. I just didn't understand what those tools were yet to be successful. He went through a lot of trials and tribulations himself, and it was a great learning experience for me to go through it. I went through it with him every step of the way. I never missed a day, never took a day off. I trained when I hurt my shoulders. I trained when I had knee issues. I trained when I got my teeth pulled. I taught classes. We went through different schools, ups and downs. It was amazing. It was just a great journey. It was really an amazing journey. It really is. It really was. And I learned so much through that journey, I've learned so much about what it's going to take just to be successful. Needless to say, by this master taking me in and showing me the ropes, he encouraged me to end up doing other types of martial arts. So I ended up started training in Krav Maga, which is an Israeli system of self-defense. He trained me in that for about 4 years, consistently every day, and then he introduced me into a system called Muay Thai, which I trained in for another year, for about a year and a half, 2 years almost, I would say. I trained into the Muay Thai and Muay Thai. He also introduced me to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And then we had a couple people that just come through, and the network that we've had that come through, we've had people introduce us into mixed martial arts, cage fighting. And one day he says to me, he says, Eric, you could do that. And I'm like, no, I can't. I'm like, no way, man. I'm like, I don't want to do that. And he was like, no, you really can. And I watched a 40-year-old man get out there that I knew, a parent that I was teaching their kids at the time. He got out into the cage and he fought. And I'm looking at him, and I'm young. I'm like 29. I'm like 28, I think. I was 28. And I'm looking at this guy, and I'm like, if he can get out there and do that, I gotta be able to do it, right? I mean, I'm a martial artist. I train in martial arts. I've been training in martial arts for 7 years now. I'm a 2nd degree black belt in Taekwondo. State champ. Trained in multiple disciplines. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Maybe I can. But before I can, I had to get the okay from everybody. So that means all the coaches had to okay me going into the cage. And that meant I had to train my rear end off. And not only that, I had to go compete, and I had to go win. Well, I did it. I went out, I competed, I won. I trained my butt off. These guys said, yep, you can go out there. I went out my first MMA fight, and I won my first MMA fight. Went out, won my second MMA fight. Went out, won my third MMA fight. In my second MMA fight, I had a very rude awakening. Very rude. I was winning, and in amateur New Jersey, there are certain rules in amateur New Jersey. However, if this was a pro fight, I would have lost. I got hit in the face with a flying knee. The guy jumped up, hit me with a flying knee, and he knocked me out. And in amateurs, that was a disqualification on his part. I was winning on the scorecard regardless. That was a disqualification on his end. I ended up winning because I was winning on the scorecards anyway. But it was a very rude awakening for me. And what it told me was that this thing is unpredictable. Life is unpredictable. Fighting is unpredictable. You gotta be ready. But it also taught me something on the back end of things. Okay, was I willing to die and give up my life for this fight? Because that's kind of what ends up happening, right? You got to think about it in the fact that in this fight, are you willing to die? Are you willing to give up your life? I got kneed in the face and knocked out cold. You know, what if the guy hit me with such, you know, I mean, it didn't happen, but just to say, it's real, okay? And you can end up literally, getting hit the wrong way, getting slammed the wrong way, and that could be it for you. You're dealing with trained martial artists that are looking to inflict pain. Well, that night after going from the hospital, they told my daughter, please check on your father and make sure he's awake in the middle of the night, that he's still breathing. And that messed with me. And my daughter came in the middle of the night twice and woke me up. Daddy, you alive? Daddy, you breathing? You okay? You okay? And I couldn't do it. That thought has haunted me, and it haunts me today. It haunts me. It really haunts me. But needless to say, my third MMA fight, I went out 60 days later. Luckily, I didn't have a concussion. And I went back out in the cage 3 more times. I went back out in the cage 3 more times. And mainly because I have to give it a shot. There's no way I'm going to live this life and not give it a shot. And I couldn't let what happened to me in the second fight keep me down from doing, or keep fear in my heart. So I went back out 60 days later, after being knocked out, the way I got knocked out, 60 days later, I was back in the cage and I won my third fight. I got offered the title shot right after that. I got offered the title shot. And I cracked under pressure, bottom line, right? Anything that can happen, would happen, did happen, period. You don't even need to know how much I've went through. But anything that went wrong, that could go wrong, did go wrong. From finances to nutrition to training schedule to performance not working right. I mean, everything that can go or did go wrong. And I ended up shutting down on my title shot. Because I am the kind of guy that I am, I'm a fighter. So I'm like, nah, man, that was just a fluke. You know, I got to do again. I got to do it again. And I got a phone call to get another title shot. I fought better, but I still didn't fight to my max potential. And a lot of that was due to that fear that was inside, saying, you know, what happens if you get hurt? You know, what happens? You got to deal with your kids. How do they? Who's paying for them? You know, what happens? And you can't get hurt. And you know, I was working and where I was working, there was no pension, there was no health insurance, there was no sick time, there was no sick leave. If I got hurt, which I did, if I got hurt, well, I didn't get hurt, but I could have, right? I mean, I did get hit pretty bad. I wouldn't be able to work if I got hurt, and who's paying my bills? And it stuck with me, right? That's the language of the poor, the what ifs, right? What if this happened and what if this happened? Here's the difference though. I tried. I gave it a shot. I'm giving it a shot, you know, and you never stop fighting. And that's the whole point of the video today, was to never stop fighting, right? You never stop fighting. But what are you fighting for, right? What is your why? What are you fighting for? How bad do you want it? And that is the God's honest truth. How bad do you want it? And it goes to being successful too. It goes to being successful as well. Your level of success all determines on your input that you put into your mind and your output that you get from that. And that's it. And that's where your level of success lies. You know, it's really a matter of what are you willing to give up in order to be successful as you want to be. And that's why a lot of people get complacent. They're not willing to give up a lot. You know, no, I can't give up my TV time. Right? No, I can't give up this time. No, I've worked 40 hours a week this week. I'm not trying to do any more. I worked 8 hours today, and I'm tired. Job is tough. You know, you can't expect me to be up, you know, reading or studying, right? I mean, and that's what happens, you know. And it's the same thing in the fights, right? It's the same thing in a fight. In a fight, the guy that wins it the most, when you go the long distance, is the guy that wants it the most. The guy that's willing to give up the most to get it. And that's the truth. The guy that's willing to put himself out there on the line the most to get it. You know, unless you get a lucky shot, you know, you hit someone clean, you get a nice shot or something. But in the same thing in life, it's the same way. You know, there's a little story about a young man that wanted to become successful, and he went to go see a guru. And when he went to go see this guru, I mean, some of you may have heard this story. If you know anything about Napoleon Hill, then you've read this story already, or you've heard about the story. If you ever heard Eric Thomas, then you've heard this story already. The young man goes to see the guru, and the guru says, meet me at the beach 5 a.m. The young man questions him already. He says, 5 a.m.? Meet me at the beach 5 a.m., man, that's early. The guy says, you want to be successful, you want to do what I've done, you got to meet me at the beach 5 a.m. So he goes to meet the guy at the beach 5 a.m., suited and booted, suited, tied up, everything ready to go. The guru's out in the water with his swimming trunks on, standing in the middle of the water, waist deep. He tells the guy, come on out to the water. The guy's like, man, what are you talking about? I came here to make some money. The guy said, man, you got to come out here into this water. So the guy says, okay. The young man takes off his shirt, his tie, his clothes. He takes off his shorts, and he walks out into the water. He walks out waist deep. The guy says, you got to come out a little further. He comes out a little further. The guy says, yeah, I need you up to your shoulders. He goes up to the shoulders. The guy says, now to your chin. He goes to his chin. The guy says, now go right here to your nose and keep your eyes on the horizon. The guy goes out to his nose, keeps his eye on the horizon. Now he can't breathe. So now the guy starts to look around. He starts to look around. He's looking at the guru. The guru waits for him to pop up. The guy pops up. He says, man, I couldn't breathe. The guru said, I was waiting for you to come up and get some air. The guy says, now I need you to do the same thing and close your eyes. This time you can't see the horizon. He closed his eyes. He couldn't see the horizon. The guy did the same thing again. This time he opened his eyes up and he looked at the guru. He said, why didn't you grab me? The guru said, I was waiting for you to get up and breathe. The guy said, okay, I need you to do one. The guru said, I need one more time. I need you to close your eyes. I need you to go all the way underneath the water this time. And I need you to go all the way under the water this time and hold your breath as long as you can. When you feel like you want to come up, you can't. You got to fight it. When you feel like you want to come up, you can't. You got to fight it. When you feel like you want to come up, you can't. You got to fight it. So the guy says, all right. So he goes underneath and he's holding his breath. He's holding his breath. He's holding his breath. The guy wants to come up. The guru grabs him and he holds him down. And the guy's kicking and he's swinging his hands and he's kicking and he's swinging. And as soon as the kicks and the punches start to slow down, the guy lets him up. He holds him up, pull him up out of the water. The young man grasps for air. The guru says, that's how bad you gotta want to be successful. You gotta want it as bad as you want to breathe. You gotta want it as bad as you want to breathe. And that is powerful. That is powerful stuff. Because that means, what are you willing to give to be successful? What are you willing to give up to be successful? It doesn't have to be a fight. I'm like, but the same thing happened in my title fights. The same exact thing happened in all my fights. What was I willing to give up? In my second fight, that guy was willing to give up everything he had to win. He even went beyond measure and did an erratic move just because he wanted to win. And he was losing. Gotta hate losing more than you like winning. And that's the moral to the story. How much you willing to give up to be where you want to be? Do what you want to do. Go where you want to go. How much are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to give your life? I'm like, and that's what this means. Okay? This symbol, okay, is a symbol of the fight. Right? We're all black belts in life. Okay, we all gotta fight. Every day is a new journey. You gotta enjoy your journey. You gotta enjoy your journey. You gotta enjoy what you go through, learn from it, grow from it. You know, I'll talk about another story about the lobster. Some of you may have heard this story, some of you may have not. But I'll talk about another part about the lobster.